All right, number 24, determine the intervals over which the function is decreasing, increasing, and constant. So we have a parabola here, and we know that this parabola goes on and on forever. Off to the left here, though, we want to know what's happening. Well, this graph goes on forever, like we said, and we read a graph from left to right. And the technical way to determine where our function is increasing, decreasing, and constant is to ask ourselves, what is the y value doing as the x value increases? So when we read this graph from left to right, as we come up from the left side here, the x value is getting bigger. So what is the y value doing? Well, it's also getting bigger, isn't it? And it will continue that trend until we get to this vertex, the point 0, -2. So for this whole part of the function, we are increasing. So we're increasing from -infinity until we get to the x value of 0. Because at the x value 0, we can see that this graph turns around, and as the x gets bigger, now what is the y doing? Well, the corresponding y value is getting smaller, isn't it? It's turned back around and we're getting smaller and smaller. So we're decreasing over the interval from 0 out to now positive infinity. And so that's how we'll define increasing and decreasing. We can see on this particular graph, there is no constant that we need to identify. There's no point on this graph where as the x gets bigger, the y remains the same, no constant. Another way that we can think of this, and maybe a way that's a little more fun, is to think about taking an ant or some other insect, and we'll call this little guy red. And if we put him here at the bottom left of our graph, anytime red is walking uphill, we'll consider our function to be increasing. If red, our ant, is walking downhill, we'll consider our function to be decreasing. And if red is just walking in a straight line on a flat surface, we'll consider our function to be constant. So if we stick red down here at the bottom and let him start walking, well, he's going to start walking uphill, isn't he? And he'll keep walking uphill until he hits this vertex, again, 0, -2, and he will immediately start to walk downhill, won't he? He's going to walk over that vertex and he's going to start his journey downhill. So what are the intervals that he's walking uphill? Well, he's walking uphill, or increasing again, from -infinity to 0. And again, these are x values, right? These are the intervals over x where the function is increasing. And red is walking downhill, and we said that downhill means decreasing, over the intervals from 0, that's the vertex, that's where this graph turns around, and red will continue to walk down forever out towards positive infinity. And again, at no point is red walking on a flat surface, and so there is no constant part of number 24, this function.